how do you guys feel about the introduction, and what do you consider the best decisions, or not even best decisions, what are like your best tips for introducing a protagonist or protagonists in this case?
That's a tricky one, because this is one of those things where, I mean, like you alluded to, there's not really a right or a wrong way to do it, because there's so many options. In general, I feel like it's said to introduce your character like in their present state of being. So like you say, this is normal, and then later down the line, you're gonna say, you know, your conflict happens, and suddenly they're thrust into these series of adventures that they have to overcome. I think that it was done well in this musical, but I really appreciate when I first meet a protagonist and they are in a moment of tension, and you get to see how they react in a moment of tension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to that end, again, a musical, you're dealing with a very couple of different rules where literally you can have the characters go, this is me, this is who I am, right? But to that end, like Jalen said, there's not really a right or wrong way, but I will say in terms for me is two things. Thing number one, thing I can't stand, I don't like when characters come up and you just tune out their dialogue because you just know the writers, filmmakers, whichever medium you're working with, have the characters come up and go, I'm the quirky one, I'm the science one. It's like a terrible Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles opening song. You know what I mean? But
you can do that well if you're spinning it to be a comedy.
Yeah, there's a way to do it, but to that end, I think the way to do it is you can't say this character fills this position, and it has to be this character is like this because they're a person, so they're not specifically one thing. So, for example, going back to like TMNT, everyone knows like Mikey's the funny one, but that's not the entirety of Mikey. So when he has a trait, he doesn't fill in the place, or at least that's how it should be. But I was going to say the other factor is it's really, really, okay, this is going to sound really, really terrible, so bear with me here. It's really easy to get an audience hooked on a subject, on a character, which is not to say it's easily done. But if you can just give the audience a little bit of a bait, that's all you need, right? So with the second song, the Warriors, all I have to know is they're together. They are happy together. They got their shtick. They run Coney Island. They are clearly ruffians, and they have coats, right? Mm-hmm. That's all I need. I don't need to know their whole backstory. I don't need to know the thing. And the other thing too is, and this kind of goes more with like modern Western animated films, they don't need to be quirky. They don't need to be dropping jokes. They don't need to be, I'm so in your face. You just need to give me a little bit, because remember, the audience can find who they're going to be in time. Just like you said, like when they go on the adventures, then we'll find out exactly who they are. So like, for example, Fox in this story starts out as one thing and becomes a whole other thing, but we'll get there when we get there. But, so I think that's something really important, is that you can do it quietly, of just tell us the story and not have to kind of set up like a character profile, if that makes sense, with all those technical details. If you just go, here's the character, here's their traits, we will find out with you. Drag us by the hand if you want, take us on the journey, but you don't need to sit us down. Walk with us, I think, is the advice I would give. Which again, it's very hard, but you know, you can do it. There are other ways.
Yeah. I will say I just looked up the actual lyrics of Roll Call. And it ends with, can we unify all of New York? Can we run the night? And I think that that's a perfect way of wrapping up. You've introduced the tone, the atmosphere, the setting, if you will, and you've introduced your main characters, and you've introduced the stakes. And with this, you're introducing the problem. So right there, you have right off the bat the three basic foundations of a story: the atmosphere, the setting, the characters, and the problem.